Girls are kind of lucky, don't they, Mom?
Why do you say that?
Well, they don't have to be smart. They don't have to get jobs or anything. All they gotta do is get married.
This wasn't just mid-century comfort TV, it was a polite rule breaker. Leave It to Beaver slipped past censors, centered the kid's eye view, and later returned as a nostalgia machine. In this quick hit, we'll blitz through 20 weird, rarely told facts. The toilet tank that rattled standards, the costliest billboard mishap, cast shakeups you never heard about, and the urban legends that refuse to die. Clean suburban streets, messy backstage truths, ready to flip the scrapbook and find pages forgotten. Fact 1. The toilet tank that broke TV. Polite television made a loud first when Beaver and Wally hid a baby alligator in the only place censors didn't want America to see, the toilet tank. In 1957, bathroom fixtures were taboo. No bowls, no seats, not even a handle, so the Captain Jack script set off alarms at the network. Producers negotiated a razor-thin compromise. You'd see the tank and the chrome lever, never the rest. The gag wasn't crude, it was clever kid logic, but visually, those few seconds cracked open a door. If an everyday object could appear on family TV, maybe stories could too. Messier, funnier, closer to real life. The episode aired, the sky didn't fall, and a suburban show quietly rewrote standards without raising its voice. That rebellion became the series' signature. Next up, the Soup Bowl billboard stunt that cooked the budget and tested everyone's nerves. Fact 2. The Soup Bowl billboard that boiled the budget. Beaver's most nail-biting day wasn't a bully or a bad grade. It was a bowl of soup the size of a truck. In the soup, 1961 looked simple. A dare, a climb, a kid stuck. Behind the screen, it was the show's costliest gamble. The crew built 2 billboards, an outdoor rig for wides, and a giant soundstage replica with a safe sloped soup basin, hidden harness points, and steam effects. Camera cranes and stunt coordinators turned minutes of story into days of logistics. Costs spiked to roughly $40,000 over the usual. Overtime mounted, insurance multiplied. The result pops: Beaver's hands on a curve, sirens wailing, parents panicking. Worth it, but painful. Producers tightened belts afterward. More interiors, more ensemble scenes, fewer high-wire toys. A spectacle made the scrapbook. The ledger felt it. Next, a classmate walks away for reasons no kid should face. Fact 3. Judy's exit. Growing up in public, Jerry Wiles' Judy Hensler was Beaver's sharp-tongued class nemesis. Then she disappeared. Years later, Weil explained why. Puberty hit while the show still wanted elementary school silhouettes. Wardrobe brought out ace bandages to flatten her changing body, and scenes that should have been fun started feeling humiliating. One day, during a baseball bit, she was asked to spin in a long skirt. She worried an old school pad might show and felt trapped between the camera and her own body. The smile stayed on screen. The dread stayed with her. After enough days like that, she chose to leave. Wasn't fired, didn't wash out, simply protected herself. The series stayed bright. The cost was invisible. It's a reminder that wholesome sets were still workplaces for kids. Next, off-screen weight. Hugh Beaumont carrying grief while playing America's Dad. Fact 4. America's Dad, Private Grief. Playing Ward Cleaver, Hugh Beaumont projected calm authority. Off-camera, he carried a loss that never left the set. In 1959, a family car trip ended in tragedy. His mother-in-law killed, his young son injured, just as the show hit its stride. Colleagues remembered a gracious professional who arrived early, hit his marks, and kept emotions private. But between takes, his gaze sometimes drifted, as if measuring distance between duty and grief. The role demanded bedtime wisdom. Real life demanded resilience. You can feel that ballast in the quiet scenes. Ward listening first, advising second, choosing patience over heat. It wasn't method. It was a man conserving strength. Success gave him exposure, not escape, and Mayfield became both sanctuary and reminder. That duality helped the show's warmth ring true. Gentle without being sugary. Next, another absence fans noticed: the sudden vanishing of Larry Mondello. Fact 5. The vanishing of Larry Mondello. One week he was there with a cookie in his pocket, the next, gone. Rusty Stevens' Larry Mondello, Beaver's snack-loving partner in trouble, disappeared after season 3 with no in-story goodbye. Off Off-camera, two forces collided. A family move out of California and a mother whose on-set involvement reportedly wore the crew thin. The show couldn't stall, so writers slipped in a new co-conspirator, Gilbert Bates, to keep the mischief engine humming. Viewers felt the switch. Different face, same "let's try it" energy. Proof that Beaver cared more about kid dynamics than any single sidekick. Larry became a ghost in reruns, always there in early chaos, missing in later scrapes. That quiet vanishing act says a lot about 50s TV. Keep smiling, keep rolling, explain nothing. The friendship vibe stayed, the name changed. Next up, why Wally's steady calm wasn't acting. It was athletic discipline in disguise. Fact 6. Wally's calm. Sharker diver's discipline. Tony Dow didn't learn Big Brother on a set. He learned it on a diving board. He trained from age 5, became a junior Olympics champion by 9, and built the habits that read as Wally's steadiness. Posture, breath control, patience under pressure. Divers practice the same motion hundreds of times, chasing clean lines and quiet entries. That discipline became screen presence. He hit marks like takeoff points, kept his core still, and let reactions be small and honest. Casting directors felt it immediately. He looked athletic, stood relaxed, and never pushed. That's older brother energy, protective without showboating. He once dreamed of the 1972 Olympics. Hollywood rerouted the lane, but you can still see the athlete in the way Wally moves, listens, and decides. Calm isn't an accident, it's conditioning. Next, that chemistry with Jerry Mathers didn't wrap. It toured stages for years. Fact 7. Brothers after cut. The bond that toured. Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow didn't just play brothers, they kept acting like brothers when the lights were out. They stuck close through school, odd jobs, and the awkward afterlife of child stardom, then took their timing on the road. In 1978, they re-teamed for the farce Boeing, swapping straight man beats and pratfalls like muscle memory. Tours followed, including So Long, Stanley. The old Wally and Beaver rhythm, listen, pause, tag the laugh, filled regional houses. They carpooled, ribbed each other, tightened lines backstage, and signed programs side by side while fans brought vintage lunchboxes for autographs. Conventions and reunion specials kept the tradition going. The stories flowed because they remembered the same moments from different angles. That off-screen trust is why the show still feels easy, solid friendship under every scene. Next, the low-key rule producers used to protect that ease. Kids weren't allowed to watch themselves. Fact 8. The don't watch yourself rule. Producers had one low-tech safeguard for kid actors. They told the families not to let Jerry Mathers or Tony Dow watch the show. No weekly parties, no playback, not even sneak peeks on set. The goal wasn't punishment, it was protection. If the boys never saw the finished versions, they wouldn't imitate themselves, chase laughs, or develop that showbiz tilt adults kept warning about. Performances stayed clean. React, don't pose, listen, then answer. At home, the rule kept life ordinary. Homework, sports, chores, while everyone else in America gathered around the same episodes. Years later, Dow admitted he still hadn't seen every installment he was in. That distance sounds strict, but it preserved what audiences loved: uncalculated innocence. Ironically, refusing feedback became a form of direction. Keep the kids grounded, and Mayfield reads like a neighborhood. Next, pearls, heels, and illusions too. Fact 9. Pearls and heels, image engineering. June Cleaver's pearls weren't about glam. They were problem-solving. Barbara Billingsley had a small hollow at her throat that photographed as a distracting shadow under lights. A simple strand filled the space, bounced highlights, and softened the neckline, so the pearls stayed, episode after episode, until they read as character. Then height became another invisible fix. As Jerry Mathers and Tony Dow shot upward, producers slipped Billingsley into pumps so Mom wouldn't be visually dwarfed in kitchens and doorways. The silhouette mattered, a calm center framed by tidy lines, not a parent peering up at her kids. Viewers read perfection, cameramen saw solutions. Over time, pearls and heels turned into brand shorthand. Domestic grace, no matter what chaos Beaver brought through the door. The look wasn't vanity, it was engineering. Next, the town everyone knows, yet can't quite place. Where is Mayfield? Fact 10. Where on earth is Mayfield? The Cleavers live in Mayfield. Full stop. No state, no zip. That wasn't a slip, it was strategy. Connolly and Mosher wanted Anytown, USA, so more families could see themselves in the story. Clues tease you, then contradict you. One week, the boys mention Madison or the Packers. Hello, Wisconsin. Another week, street names names and Midwestern scenery feel like Ohio. License plates are generic. Newspapers dodge date lines. Road signs get swapped. Even the backlot houses shift between seasons, reinforcing a suburb that's more idea than map-in. Fans still triangulate details, episode by episode, but the ambiguity is the point. Mayfield is wherever your own neighborhood echoes the Cleavers' quiet crises, lost homework, dented fenders, and apologies over meatloaf. That's why reruns feel local everywhere. A perfect myth needs a soft border. Next, decades later, the myth town reopened its doors for a cast reunion. Fact 11. The reunion without Ward. 2 decades after the finale, Mayfield turned the porch light back on. The 1983 TV movie Still the Beaver reunited the core cast and tested a what-if. The Cleavers as adults with kids of their own. Viewers showed up. The reunion became a series, the new Leave It to Beaver, with Jerry Mathers, now a dad, Tony Dow, the steady brother, Barbara Billingsley, still the anchor, and Eddie Haskell, Ken Osmond, charming menace as an adult. The tone held small problems, real stakes, gentle wins. But one presence was missing and felt in every scene. Hugh Beaumont had died in 1982, so Ward lived on in photographs, flashbacks, and a dedication in the premiere. Nostalgia wasn't the point, continuity was. Same values, new responsibilities, same Mayfield weather. Next, the Wally you almost got. Before a growth spurt recast history. The experiment ran for years. Fact 12. The other Wally you rarely see. Before Tony Dow became America's Big Brother, the pilot crowned someone else. In the 1957 test episode, It's a Small World, Wally was played by Paul Sullivan. Then biology rewrote casting. Between pilot and pickup, Sullivan hit a growth spurt that towered over Jerry Mathers, skewing the kid balance the show needed. Producers quietly recast, and Dow walked in with calm, athletic poise that matched Beaver's energy instead of overwhelming it. The pilot shelved for decades. Fans met real Wally at episode 1 and never knew a switch had happened. When the lost pilot finally surfaced years later, it played like an alternate timeline. Same Mayfield vibe, different gravitational pull. It's a reminder of how fragile chemistry is on kid-led shows. An inch here, a voice drop there, and the whole rhythm changes. Next, how a Cub Scout uniform sealed the title role. Fact 13. The Cub Scout audition, honesty wins roles. Jerry Mathers didn't charm the room with polish, he disarmed it with priorities. He walked into his Leave It to Beaver audition wearing a Cub Scout uniform because he had a meeting right after, and told casting he needed to leave on time. No showbiz patter, no pick-me energy, just a kid with other plans. That candor gave producers exactly what they were hunting: uncoached, unhurried authenticity. On camera, Beaver isn't a performer. He's a boy who tells the truth, even when it complicates things. The uniform became a legend only because the attitude matched the character: curious, polite, slightly impatient to get back to real life. By then, Mathers already had commercials and film bits under his belt, but the role clicked when he stopped trying to act. He just was. Next, ending a hit on purpose. Why School beat Stardom and closed the show. Fact 14. School over Stardom. Why the show closed. By 1963, the machine was humming, steady ratings, a bulletproof formula, and a cast people felt they knew. The stop switch came from the kid in the title. Jerry Mathers was heading into junior high and wanted a normal school schedule. Classes, sports, weekends that didn't vanish into promotion days. Producers gamed out a Beaverless Mayfield, then faced the obvious. Without Beaver's point of view, the show lost its spine. Connolly and Moshe chose to end it on purpose, rather than coast into reruns in real time. That's why the series feels complete instead of wilted. No scandal, no cancellation, just a child choosing a childhood and adults respecting it. The result gave Beaver an unusually graceful last chapter for a 50s-60s sitcom, and they used that final lap for something special, a scrapbook goodbye that even explains how Beaver got his name. Fact 15. Family Scrapbook: How to End a Sitcom on Purpose. Long before prestige TV finales, Leave It to Beaver designed one. On June 20th, 1963, Family Scrapbook gathered the Cleavers around an album and let memories roll. A gentle, self-aware clip show with new wraparound scenes. It plays like a thesis: kid-level stakes, small mistakes, and parents who listen before lecturing. The closer even answers a nagging fan riddle: how did Theodore become Beaver? The tale pins it on a childhood mispronunciation that stuck. Sweet, simple, perfectly Mayfield. Another grace note: Ward's warmth off-screen guided the goodbye too. Hugh Beaumont Beaumont directed the finale, shaping the cadence like a lullaby. Ending by choice kept the show from fading. It signed its name, then set the book down. That's why the series feels complete instead of cancelled. Pages turned, lesson learned, lights off. Next, the prankster grew up. Ken Osmond's Eddie Haskell trades smirk for badge in a very real plot twist. Fact 16. Eddie Haskell, badge, and myth. Typecast as TV's silver-tongued schemer, Ken Osmond did something no one expected. He became a cop. He joined the LAPD, rode motors, and kept his head down until a 1980 street stop turned into a gunfight. A vest and luck saved him. Injuries and line-of-duty stress eventually pushed him to retire. Off-screen, the rumor mill ran wild. For years, people swore Eddie Haskell had become a rock star or an X-rated headliner. Both myths were publicly debunked, but they stuck because the character was unforgettable. Osmond later returned for reunions and cameos with a sly, self-aware wink, proof he could own the joke without letting it own him. That arc, prankster to protector, says more about the actor than any punchline. Next, the creative rulebook that made Beaver feel real. Small laughs, gentle stakes, and dialogue tuned to everyday truths. Fact 17. Quiet comedy, real stakes. Writers Connolly and Mosher had a ruthless rule. If a line made the crew howl, it got cut. Too funny broke the spell. Beaver wasn't a gag machine. It was a mirror. Problems stayed bite-size. A lost report, a dented fender, a fib that snowballed, so kids could recognize themselves and parents could breathe. Dialogue avoided zingers and aimed for natural pauses, misreads, and polite misunderstandings. Performances followed suit. Small looks, soft sighs, the way someone repeats a word when they're nervous. The laugh comes late, after recognition, not setup. That restraint is why episodes age well. No topical punchlines to sour, just human rhythms. Even the music keeps volume in check, nudging scenes instead of underlining them. Result, sincerity over snark, empathy over applause. Viewers don't feel played, they feel seen. Next, the kid-lit legend who bottled that voice on the page, Beverly Cleary's Beaver books. Fact 18. Beverly Cleary bottled Mayfield on the page. TV made the Cleavers famous. A kid-lit legend made them portable. In 1960-61, Beverly Cleary, the voice behind Ramona and Henry Huggins, adapted Leave It to Beaver into tie-in books that read exactly like the show feels. Small stakes, honest mix-ups, quiet wins. Drawing from episodes with fresh connective scenes, she kept sentences clean and rhythms conversational, so classroom read-alouds and library copies were constantly checked out. The prose does what the series does best, lets kid logic drive story without mocking it. Dialogue lands like real talk. Lessons arrive like a nod, not a lecture. Covers showed Beaver and Wally mid-mischief. Inside, chaptery snapshots let readers visit Mayfield between broadcasts or after bedtime. It wasn't merchandising, it was translation, turning TV timing into page turn. Result, the show lived where antennas couldn't. Backpacks and book fairs. Next, a myth antennas did create. Beaver in I Love Lucy, he wasn't. Fact 19. The I Love Lucy myth, not Beaver. For decades, fans swore a tiny Jerry Mathers popped up in Lucy Ricardo's dream sequence from Ricky's Old Girlfriend, 1953. The kid's face, wide-eyed, earnest, sure looks like pre-Beaver Jerry, so the rumor calcified in trivia books and comment threads. But records, and Jerry himself, say otherwise. Production paperwork lists the child as one of twin performers, Joseph or Michael Mayer, not Mathers, and Jerry has repeatedly clarified he never appeared on I Love Lucy. It's a perfect urban legend, plausible, adorable, and completely wrong. Why it sticks. The two shows share a cozy domestic tone, and viewers love crossovers that stitch their TV memories together. The real takeaway isn't a cameo, it's how powerful familiarity is. We see what we want to see. Next, something real you can see today. The series' modern remasters that keep Mayfield crisp for new eyes. And counting. Fact 20. Remastered Mayfield. The 2023 Blu-ray keeps it alive. Nostalgia didn't do this alone. Remastering did. In November 2023, Leave It to Beaver. The complete series arrived on Blu-ray with new HD transfers that finally let Mayfield's textures breathe. Crisp kitchen tile, sharper sweater weaves, clean half-tone headlines on the Cleavers newspaper. Framing stays Classic Academy, about 1.33.1. Audio is restored mono, and the set spans 30 discs. Room enough for 234 episodes without overcompression. It's the kind of polish that invites first-timers and rewards lifers. You'll notice softer highlight, roll-off on faces, steadier blacks in night exteriors, extras and far fewer dupy shots from old syndication prints. The upgrade also future-proofs the show in classrooms, libraries, and family movie nights. Kids meet Beaver in actual detail, not fuzz. 60-plus years later, the Cleavers look newly present, not preserved under glass. That's how a quiet sitcom keeps speaking. Polite on the surface, rebellious underneath, leave it to Beaver-bent rules, centered kid logic, and aged with its audience. It put a toilet tank on TV, turned small problems into real stakes, weathered cast shakeups, spawned myths, reunited decades later, and returned sharper in 2023. That's why Mayfield still feels local. Rhythms, honest consequences. If one fact surprised you, imagine the stories hiding between episodes. Which page should we open next? Drop your memory and pass the scrapbook on.